course, this curriculum will only be a recommendation. Second clause I'm going to look at is the third clause under Article 1, Section 8, as you have it. This clause states that Congress shall have power to regulate commerce among the several states. This clause is known in constitutional law as the Interstate Commerce Clause, although that phrase is not found in the Constitution. From the standpoint of 1787, this is one of the most important powers for Congress and the federal government to have. Under the Articles of Confederation, the 13 states were in effect 13 separate nations with 13 separate economies. Occasionally, trade wars developed between two or more states. The Constitution removed most of the crucial decision-making powers related to economics from the states, placing those powers in the hands of the federal government. This clause granting Congress the power to regulate commerce among the several states is part of that larger process. However, the clause would develop over time into a source of tremendous regulatory power for the federal government. There developed early in constitutional law a distinction between interstate commerce and intrastate commerce. Interstate commerce would entail commerce that involved two or more states or people living in two or more states. For example, a person who makes a product in South Carolina but sells it in North Carolina as well as South Carolina would be involved in interstate commerce. Intrastate commerce would be commerce that occurs completely within the borders of one state. For example, a person makes a product in South Carolina and markets and sells it only in South Carolina. According to this distinction, Congress can regulate interstate commerce but not intrastate commerce. The power that Congress has in regard to this matter has been the same from day one under the Constitution. But the thing being regulated, interstate commerce, has obviously changed dramatically. When the Constitution first went into effect in 1789, a relatively small amount of American commerce could be regarded as interstate. One could speculate that perhaps maybe 10% of that commerce was interstate. Today, we'd be hard-pressed to come up with any commerce that is strictly intrastate. Congress's power to regulate interstate commerce is the basis for much of its regulation of business in America, as well as the regulation of labor unions. This includes the regulation of television and radio, the Federal Communications Commission, the establishment of work safety regulations, OSHA, and a host of other similar activities. The constitutional basis for federal regulation standards for the environment is also found in Congress's power to regulate interstate commerce. When Congress passed the Civil Rights Act of 1964, one provision in that act, known as the Public Accommodations Section, made it a federal crime to discriminate in places of public accommodation, such as restaurants, hotels, motels, theaters, on the basis of race. This effectively put an end to racial segregation in America. There was some debate in Congress about the constitutionality of the Public Accommodations Section as to whether Congress had sufficient constitutional power to legislate in this area. The prevailing view in Congress and elsewhere was that Congress has the power to regulate interstate commerce. A black man or woman from California traveling through Atlanta is clearly interstate commerce. Thus, Congress did indeed have the constitutional authority to prevent racial discrimination in the conduct of business. Now, our third clause, we want to have so much on it. I got plenty of time here.